So in today's gospel, Jesus' identity and his purpose are once again on display. Mark has this sense that Jesus has got a powerful mission to fulfill. He sees him foremost as teacher and as healer. Jesus has taught in the synagogue with authority, and he has healed with a word, casting out an evil spirit from a possessed man. Everyone there who watched and witnessed was astounded. They were shocked because there was something about Jesus, something powerful about him, something mysterious about him, something that draws people to him, something that in some way actually gives hope. So in the gospel reading, it's still the Sabbath, and Jesus, John, and James are leaving the synagogue, and they're making their way to the home of Andrew and Simon Peter. And they are met at the door with the urgency, Simon Peter telling them how his mother-in-law is in bed with a fever, very ill. Now they have seen Jesus in action, right? And they don't fully understand him. They don't get exactly who he is. They don't know how it is that he does what he does. But they do believe in his power to heal. And so without hesitation or without a word, Jesus makes his way to her, takes her hand in his, raises her up, and restores her to wellness and health. She is healed. It's reminiscent of the angels who tended Jesus, and she immediately begins to tend them. Now, when I hear this story of Jesus healing his mother-in-law, it brings to mind for me immediately the people that are in my life who are ill right now. People in my life who are sick, who are struggling, people that are very much in need of the healing power of Jesus. And like Simon and Andrew, I just want to go immediately, urgently to Jesus and say, hey, are you aware of this? Do you know what's going on? And I want to give him the whole dish, everything that I know, so that he will show up, so that he'll come and rest their hand, so that he will heal their body, so that they can be restored and their spirit renewed. The prophet Isaiah asks us, have you not seen? Have you not heard? He tells us and he emphasizes that God has always been there, that God will always be there. And through our scripture, we Christians have seen how Jesus heals. And we have heard his words of promise. We may even have experienced God's healing love and power in our own lives. Maybe in intimate moments with Jesus, or maybe particularly through the tending and the care in the hands of others. Perhaps then it's not quite so unusual that we would desire Jesus' healing power to be placed upon those we love, or even ourselves. Although Jesus did a lot of his healing inside of common places, out in the open, there's something particularly special about today's lesson. Because in it, Jesus enters into that intimate, personal, inner sanctum of Peter and his brother Andrew. He's in their home. And there, he heals not only Simon's mother-in-law, but he heals countless others who come at the end of the Sabbath bringing those in need to him. We can trust that Jesus will also enter into our intimate places. That Jesus comes to meet us in those deep places where our pain that no one else knows resides. Although he hasn't made his true identity known, he understands that he has a profound purpose and a mission to teach and to heal, so that God's people, so that all of us will turn toward him believe in him, and then put trust in him. I think, though, more than the story of healing and the truth that we understand Jesus as healer, there is an invitation inside of this gospel lesson for all of us. And that invitation is to join Jesus in being bearers of healing and restoration to the world. To be people who have the courage to show up, even when it's uncomfortable, to have the presence to be with others in their suffering, people who accompany others along their journey of struggle. We cannot know what people are suffering all the time. So much of it is just hidden away. It sits behind the scenes. But what we can do is we can show up. I think what makes the difference is the showing up. Can you commit to being brave enough to dare to reach out to somebody that you know is suffering and not be worried that you might say the wrong thing, or you might not be able to help, or that it's just uncomfortable because it's too close to home? Can you extend grace and healing through kind words or a note? Through the gift of your listening? Through the gift of your presence? Can you and are you willing to pray for others and lift them up to God and emphatically, like Peter and his brother, call upon God to heal? Spoken or unspoken, God knows your heart. We may not be able to heal like Jesus. Okay. But what we can do is we can choose to be people who are a healing presence. And we have a world that is full of suffering, whether it be physical or emotional or just everyday life stress that weighs down upon us. So many of us are carrying heavy weight and heavy burdens. And I think what we need and what the world needs is healing. Healing presence, people who will walk with you, who will accompany you, and who will pray for you. We can choose to walk alongside others. We can choose to meet others in their pain and their suffering. We can choose to let folks know that even if the illness isn't cured, even if the mind cannot come back, even if the dark despair of broken relationship, they are not alone. That is the healing that Christ brings into the world. The promise of God's presence always with us. Have you not seen it? Have you not known it? Are you willing to bear it? I leave you with St. Teresa's prayer. St. Teresa, to me, articulates so clearly what it is that God calls us to be, in the context of healing, but also just in the context of being people who bear love. She writes, Christ has no body but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes with which he looks. They're the eyes with which he looks compassion on the world. Yours are the feet with which he walks to do good. Yours are the hands with which he blesses all the world. Yours are the hands, yours are the feet. Yours are the eyes. You are his body. Christ has no body now but yours. No hands and no feet on earth but yours. No eyes with which to look with compassion upon others but yours. So may Jesus' healing hands grasp and hold on to yours when you are in need of healing. May Jesus take your hand and raise you up and restore you to wholeness, so that you may step boldly into the world in inspired by God's love to bear healing to others. May it be so. Amen.